Hi, I'm Trey Mayo, Fire Chief for the City of Rocky Mount. Welcome to this edition of Hot Topics. Today we're filming behind Fire Station 6 on Wesleyan Boulevard behind Roe Nissan and the Waffle House. And joining us today is Captain Brett Skinner. And Captain Skinner is assigned to Engine 6 as a captain in the Operations Division. Captain Skinner also is in charge of the coordinating the effort for the Fire Department's Swiftwater Emergency Response Team. And today we're going to get a little history, get a little background into the history of the team and talk about some of the things they do, what some of their capabilities are, and we're going to look at some of their equipment. Captain Skinner, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having us here.
So tell us, we're standing here in front of a 27-foot enclosed trailer that houses the bulk of your Swiftwater equipment. The department also has a trailer that holds 3 inflatable boats.
Yes,
Does that make up about the most of your equipment that you would deploy with those 2 trailers along with the tow vehicles?
it does. We have 3 powered inflatables and then 1 inflatable raft on that 1 trailer.
Okay. So just so folks know what we're serving as our backdrop here. Before we get into specifics about the equipment, tell us a little bit about the history of the team. How long have we had it? How did it form? That sort of thing.
Okay. Well, I guess it goes back actually to Hurricane Fran. It was 96 or 97. I don't know which it was. One of the first calls we had during that particular hurricane was for a structure fire. Well, on the way there, we came up on a family of 5 that had been washed off of Jeffries Road into a ditch. Water was high, the car was sinking front down. Myself, Wiley Lewis, and Brian Bottoms, those 2 are not with the department anymore. We jumped out, full turnout gear, doing what we do, going to go out and save somebody. And we did. We jumped in the water, we went out to the car. Of course, water's up to here on me and up to Wiley here, and Brian's a short fella, so he was up to here.
Right.
We got him out successfully and realized after we'd done it, that wasn't the brightest thing in the world, full turnout gear in the water. So began to do a little research. Some of us went to get some training. I actually went and took the Swiftwater Rescue Tech class. We were heading toward doing something a little in the flood preparedness way when Hurricane Floyd hit. When Floyd hit, we were a little better off. I think we had 6 PFDs in the fire department at the time. We borrowed them from everybody we could get them from. We made it through Floyd, thankfully, with no injuries. I think we had 1 dog bite. And then we got a little more serious about it. We realized, we do have this river that runs through the center of town. And we do have these flood events from time to time, even the minor ones in the spring and the fall. So we started a flood emergency planning group. And out of that group, the CERT team, or the Swiftwater Emergency Response Team, was born. And this was in about 2000, 2001. We started with 4 guys that had their own dry suits and PFDs. It was a ragtag 4 of us there for a little while. We eventually moved up to 8 personnel, then to 12, then to 14, and now we're at 19. And it's with a lot of help from some civic organizations, a lot of help from the City of Rocky Mount budgeting. We've managed to accumulate the equipment that we carry in this trailer, our boats, and our personal equipment that we use.
Gotcha. And that just shows, when you were talking about how the team built, I have to be reminded that it just shows the dedication of members of the Rocky Mount Fire Department, that they recognize the need for that team and spent some personal money and some personal time to make sure that the citizens had, some form of water, so that the fire department could provide the citizens with some form of water rescue services until the city was able to come up to what, I would consider now, sort of full steam.
Oh, yeah.
So there are 19 members on the team. So when you deploy a team, how many typically go?
Okay, we are a state deployable asset. We operate under a team typing system 1 through 4. In the state of North Carolina, we are a type 1 team, which means we will deploy 14 individuals who are technician certified water rescue. Those people are deployable for a minimum of 72 hours to be self-sufficient. Food, water, sleeping, everything for that 72 hours we have to be self-sufficient for. we oftentimes will deploy more than the 14 because most of our water rescue operations are really labor intense. If we can get up to 16 or 17, we try to do it. But we have to be able to deploy 14 in order to do that. That maintains our Type 1 rating along with the equipment that we carry is all part of that typing system. The training that we do is all part of that typing system so that we can deploy that number of people.
And that 1 through 4 typing system, Type 1, that is the highest
That
level?
is the highest.
Gotcha, okay. And typically, give me some examples of some missions that you all have been on.
We've been deployed out of Rocky Mount several times. The two that stick out in my memory most are we went to Avery County. It's probably in 05 rather. In 2005, we had a couple of storms that came up through the mountains. So they had a lot of rain over a short period of time. Those little towns and little valleys there were flooding. We probably pulled 4 or 5 missions while we were there. We got deployed actually twice. We were deployed one weekend, skipped one, and went another weekend for about 3 to 4 days. The other one, I guess, that sticks out most of all, we were deployed down to Charlotte. I believe it was for Hurricane Ophelia. We started in Charlotte and we chased that hurricane from Charlotte all the way up to Moorhead. And when we finally got to Moorhead, we spent the next 4 days in Moorhead, mostly on a standby basis, but we actually were utilized to do hazard analysis and that type of thing, riding with other county officials. We even had the opportunity to witness a wedding while we were there. We were sitting in the National Guard Armory, and this young man walked up and said, anybody here would like to witness a wedding? And we didn't have anything to do at that particular time, and we all walked across the street to the magistrate's office and witnessed a wedding. So,
how about that? Well, things have to go on.
Yes, they do.
Yeah. I think it's important for the viewers to understand that this resource is housed here in Rocky Mount. We don't deploy it to other places when we think there's a chance it'll be needed in Rocky Mount. So I think the event you referred to in Avery County, that was some tropical storm remnants that had moved up the eastern seaboard west of us, and then of course we have storms that affect the coast that don't affect us this far inland. So we keep that team here until we are absolutely certain that there's no risk to the citizens of Rocky Mount, and then we will deploy that team so that the state can make use of it other places.
Right. We're on a list of resources with the Office of Emergency Management. This past year, when we had Irene come through, we were deployed for Irene, but we were deployed to Rocky Mount. So we stayed in Rocky Mount because Rocky Mount was threatened by that storm. Now, once the threat passes, we're put available in that resource list, and from that point on, we may go further east or west. Depends on which way the storm's going.
I got you. Okay. So this team this is not something that we staff all the time. I mean, there are people working today who are Swiftwater team members, but those personnel are assigned to our fire apparatus that stay in service every day. So those people have to be pulled off of apparatus and the team assembled, and then you all deploy. So let's just say, for the sake of requests from Nashua, Edgecombe County, somewhere in Nashua, Edgecombe, from the time we receive the call, how long does it take you before you're in the water?
Probably, well, a lot of that depends on travel time. If it's somewhere close, we could have boats and trailer there in 30 minutes. If it's the extreme western part of Nash County or extreme eastern part of Edgecombe, you may be looking at an hour. But what's going to happen if we get a notification that we may be needed? The first thing we do is we hook everything up. All the vehicles are hooked to all the trailers are hooked to a tow vehicle. We start moving people around, which is fairly easy because during transfers we make sure we have an equal number or close to it on each ship. If we think it's going to be something where more personnel are needed, we'll activate some of the off-duty people, and everybody's fairly close. I'm here in 10 to 15 minutes, or I go straight to the scene, whichever's fastest. So within an hour, usually most anywhere in Nashua, Edgecombe County, our assets will be on scene. And we're going to work with Nash County. We're going to work with Edgecombe County. We're a tool for them. When we get there, they tell us what they need, and we do whatever they need for us to do. Inside the city limits itself, then we pretty much act on our own, utilizing incident command system.
Right.
Here we immediately send an engine and a battalion chief, or an engine and a squad, to a water rescue event. And everybody within the fire department has been trained to an awareness level. We actually like to call it an awareness plus, because we train them to actually do some less dangerous still water, knee deep, a car stalled. We actually train our people to go ahead and effect those rescues, because they're less danger, they're not in swift water. So in that case, we could be on scene in as little as 3 to 4 minutes.
I see. Okay. I know earlier you said that our folks who are on the swift water team, they're ready to be deployed and stay gone for 72 hours.
Yes.
What is the duration of the typical deployment?
Average is about 4 days. I think pretty much everyone we've ever been on ran between that 3, 4, and 5 day cycle, because we're actually there ahead of the storm usually, or we're staged somewhere near, not necessarily in harm's way. And then as the storm rolls through, we'll generally get in behind it and affect whatever rescues we can. And then once the storm is over with, you're going to have that period where you still have water rise and all that left over from what's draining around. So you'll average a 3 or 4 day, maybe a 5 day stay.
Okay. I know you all were activated for Hurricane Irene. Have you been deployed since then? What was your last deployment?
Well, Irene was our last deployment. That was right, I guess, toward the end of the hurricane season last year.
Right.
And we were deployed here, like I said before, in Rocky Mount. And we stationed out of headquarters. All of our equipment was there, all our personnel was there. And we just monitored what was going on, kept in touch with the Office of Emergency Management on a regular basis, and just kept in touch with our people here. I mean, like you said, the citizens of Rocky Mount were why this was created.
Right.
The state resource, I guess, is kind of a bonus.
Right. Secondary resource.
Secondary reason.
Yeah. I know that Hurricane Irene was last August, so we're working toward the end of July now. So it's been 11 months since you've been deployed. When you go for that length of time without an actual deployment, without actually getting to do rescue stuff, it's very important to train. So how often does the team train?
We train monthly, usually the last Thursday of the month or something like that. But this year we've been very fortunate in the fact that our original technician certification was with a national company. And we would go to Nantahala every 3 years and recertify. The state has since developed a swiftwater rescue technician class, which really encompasses all that original training did and then some. So it's a little better in a way. We were fortunate in the fact that we were able to do that this year, and a rope technician course also, which led into the water rescue part. So most of our team members now are also rescue rope technicians, along with being the state certified swiftwater rescue technician. And we have, I believe it's 5 who qualified as instructors. What that does is, from this point on, we can deliver our own training here or in a nearby area, say up at Roanoke Rapids at the lake where we got some swift water. And the biggest bonus to that is every training we do can be done to that standard. Plus, when we were going out of town to train, it was a very large expense to send a team of 19, the equipment trailers, to tow vehicles for basically a 4 day, 3 night stay. It was very expensive.
Right.
So now we've been able to eliminate that.
And that is a nice benefit. And for the past 2 years, you all have trained at the Tar River Reservoir.
Right.
So, when the water levels are sufficient in the reservoir, the Water Resources Department, they will release water and create swift water conditions just down from the dam. And you're right. I keep we keep our fingers pretty tight on the budget, and that saves us about $6,000 a year in the training expense, because we don't have to travel to Nantahala and like you say, the rooms and meals and the fuel it takes to get there. Plus, we're sending our team you know,
400 miles
4.5 or 5 hours out of Rocky Mount. So I know that the team has, you know, you have a surface rescue component, you have an underwater rescue component. What are the components that make up a Type 1 team?
Okay. There are really basically two. The surface water, which includes the swift water. Everybody is trained at a technician level to do swift water type rescue. And then we have a group within our team, a dive team, and I believe right now we're at 7 divers, I believe. So we have 7 members of the team who are trained to do rescue diving. They train monthly just like we do. So those members, not only do they attend CERT training once a month, but they also attend dive training every month. Now the CERT members have the opportunity to go and train with the dive team also, because we're their surface crew, so to speak. We're the ones who man their ropes. We communicate with them. We have wired communication where we can talk back and forth to the divers. So there's a tremendous amount of training that is involved in those two disciplines. And that's really the core of what we do, those two things.
Okay. Well, that's a very nice overview of the team, its history, and just sort of gives the viewers a general look at what the team does, how it operates, what its capabilities are. Before us here we have laid out sort of the basic complement of equipment that a swiftwater rescue team member would don before they got into rescue mode, you know, got into water and started doing the things to affect the rescue. So walk us through some of this equipment. Tell us what it is, what it does, and I'm gonna just turn it right over to you and let you go for it.
All right, first thing, and probably the most, in my opinion, the most important thing we have is the Mustang dry suit. This dry suit gives us a level of comfort in cold water that we couldn't get in a wet suit. We're able to put on garments under this that will keep us even warmer. It adds an element of encapsulation for hazardous materials, because if you have a flood event is also a hazmat event or a hazardous materials event because of all the various elements that are in the water. It's very comfortable. It goes all the way from, which is something our older dry suits didn't do. We're encapsulated literally from our neck to our toes. It's a very comfortable suit. On top of that, we have a PFD. This particular one is called a Force 6.
Now that's a personal, excuse me for interrupting. I have to make sure we work around our acronyms. That's a personal flotation device.
Personal flotation device. Okay. We don't call them life jackets. They're personal flotation devices. PFD for short. So each of us are equipped with a PFD, and on that PFD are various other tools. We all carry a knife with us, a blunt end knife. There are a lot of things in the water: rope, monofilament line. You know, some people fish with some seriously strong fishing line. You get in that and you can't get out. That's what this is for. We have a whistle. Part of our communication is done by whistle blast, which can be heard over top of rushing water. It's equipped with the ability to tie on to a rope and go out and swim and get someone, avoiding certain dangers in that process. Many of us will take this little backpack here, which we can't reach on our own. We'll fill it full of bottled water, and so we can stay hydrated, because wearing this right here, you will sweat quite a bit and not even know it, because it's all in there with you. We wear a special boot that's made specifically for water rescue. If you could see on the camera, there are vents in the bottom, there are vents in the side, so they drain really well. They're very light, they're comfortable. They go on over top of the booty and on the suit, so it's just like wearing bedroom shoes almost. They're so comfortable.
Okay.
Around our waist, we'll have a fanny pack, and inside this is actually a water rescue rope that we can deploy out to a victim. That stays with us at all times. In here is another little self-rescue device that we're able to use a ring to clamp onto a rope to help rescue ourselves should something go wrong.
And tell us just very briefly about, you know, when you're talking about self-rescue and clipping onto a rope. Tell us about that safety device that you all put in place.
When we have a water rescue, we will deploy an upstream spotter and a downstream spotter. The upstream people are telling us what's coming towards us, logs, tanks, debris, whatever. The downstream spotters are actually our safety. Should something happen to one of us and we end up in the water, they're down there with a rope throw bag to pull us out. Part of the downstream spotter's responsibility is to set up what we refer to as a tension diagonal. If you've ever watched the 911 shows, you see them trying to rescue people out of water, and they'll put a line perpendicular to the flow of the water. And when the person hits it, it basically V's out. It beats them to death for a while, and then they let go, and it doesn't do any good. Our tension diagonal is set up at a 45-degree angle. And when you float past this, that ring that I carry, I actually will hook into that 45-degree angle rope, hold tight, and the water itself will just push me to the bank and allow me to self-rescue.
Gotcha. So another example that you can't believe everything you see on TV.
Right.
Okay.
And yeah, you should, if you're like me, I watch the YouTube videos of water rescues, and you sit back and you go, what were they thinking? Another very important part of our equipment is our gloves, and you'll notice these are preformed into a grabbing position. They're very thick neoprene. We started out initially with these are actually from Walmart. Excellent glove because they've been worn for several years and beat to death, but they're still here. But they're very thin, don't add a lot of thermal protection. One of the first things you lose in cold water is the ability to use your extremities. That's one of the beginning stages of hypothermia. So these are very good insulators. They're preformed so that you don't have a lot of trouble gripping a rope with them. So it's a very good glove. And then on top of all of that is a class 3 rope rescue harness. And I'm sure everybody wonders, well, why are you in the rope rescue when you're in the water? Well, swiftwater rescue is 50% water and 50% rope, literally. We have to be as well versed in rope rescue as we are in water rescue. We wear these under or on top or under our PFD so that if we're swept away in a swiftwater situation and it becomes a air rescue event for a helicopter to come in, or it becomes a situation where we have to put a line across, a rope across a body of water, we already have this on. Helicopter comes in to rescue us. It's just a matter of simply hooking into this and taking us away.
Right.
It's not a prolonged situation. We all carry a radio. These are a marine radio. We operate on a Canadian channel so that we don't disturb anybody around us, and hopefully not the Canadians.
So it transmits on a VHF marine frequency.
On a marine frequency.
And it is, I think I read on it while we were getting set up a while ago, that it's a submersible radio.
It is submersible, but we found out not too far into this, here's the speaker. Once the speaker cavity is full of water, you can't hear anything.
I see.
So we have a common practice of coming up out of the water and we'll beat the water out of the speaker and it works fine.
So the water doesn't affect the speaker as far as the workings of it. It muffles.
It muffles the speaker.
Gotcha.
And that would be inherent with anything. And finally, we have our helmets. Mine is actually equipped with these are motorcycle goggles. They're not underwater goggles. I carry these because I wear contacts, and then if we're in the water in the boat and we're moving at a pretty good clip, debris and the air itself will dry out my contacts, so I keep this on mine. Onto this helmet, we will also attach a strobe light in the back when we're out, or a chem light stick on the back when we're out so we can be seen out of the water. We'll also attach a front-mounted little light that we can cut on and enough to read a map or something to that effect. So it's comfortable helmet. You can wear it forever and it doesn't really bother.
Okay.
And that's pretty much the gist of the personal equipment.
All right. Well, it's interesting, how much safety is built in, and just like structural firefighting, people are amazed at the equipment that guys have to wear, and girls have to wear for protection, what that equipment weighs. And none of this stuff is cheap. Everything is, because it is built to such high standards. It is tested and tested and tested This is very expensive equipment, and you guys do a great job of taking care of it, and we appreciate that. So I think you've got one other thing you'd like to show us here.
One of the items that most everybody finds interesting is our line deployment gun. What we do with this is say we need to set up a rope across the river for that tension diagonal. Instead of having somebody swim it across, which is an additional danger, we'll send a crew around and about, have them staged on the other side. It fires actually a compressed air cylinder. It's inserted in here. There's a box of rope that hangs onto the bottom, and with a full charge, which is 3,000 psi on this, it'll probably go 500 yards. It'll really fly.
And the cord it's carrying with it is typically what diameter?
The cord it's carrying with it, there's 2 boxes here of cord. You've got the smaller cord, and what we'll do is we'll fire this across and attach a larger rope to it, and then pull the large rope across. And then if we want to move some fairly heavy equipment across with some speed, we'll fire a larger diameter rope that we could actually ferry equipment across on.
Okay. So that first rope looked like 2.5 millimeters, so and this looks like about 6 millimeters. So
somewhere there.
That's when you talk about shooting something through the air, there's a lot of drag on that, and it's impressive that that gun will carry it as far as it does.
It's very impressive. In fact, it was very surprising the first time we tried it out, because we had no idea it would do what it did.
Well, it's nice to have it. You never know when you may need it.
Exactly.
It may be next year, but it might be this afternoon. And this is a great resource here that's provided by the Rocky Mountain Fire Department. I thought it was interesting as you were going through this equipment, the number of times that you said rope. And I was thinking just what how much effort we spend training guys on using rope. We use rope on the fire ground. We use rope in water rescue. We use rope in high angle rescue. We use rope in confined space rescue. We use rope in trench rescue. There are not many times when we are actually, other than on most EMS calls and most vehicle accidents, we're not using rope, but on almost every other service we provide, if we're not using rope, we keep some close at hand. We use rope almost as much as we use water. So I certainly hope this has been beneficial for the viewers. I've enjoyed it. I've learned some things. I certainly appreciate you coming out and enduring the heat today and going over some of the equipment and the history of the Swiftwater Emergency Response Team. Thank you for joining us. And viewers, thank you so much for joining us on this edition of Hot Topics. I'm Trey Mayo, Fire Chief for the City of Rocky Mount, and I'll see you next time.